Jays fans, welcome to Scott Fox After 9. This episode is going to be loaded with content. You're going to hear from the finance minister. You're going to hear from Pierre Poilievre, the opposition leader. You're going to hear from one of the leaders of an opposition party, Elizabeth May from the Green Party, and a whole bunch more, including some committee hearings and all kinds of great stuff to get you caught up so you know what is going on in this country and you have all the information you need to combat people who are trying to spread disinformation. And frankly, I am seeing it everywhere. One of the topics that's going to come up on this episode is investigating our former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. I'll get to that when I play Green Leader Elizabeth May. But first, today's a big day. It's a special day. Last night, I think the vast majority of the country was either involved in lighting off a lot of fireworks in my neighborhood for Diwali. Holy cow. Diwali, you guys go big. I don't know how much that cost you guys in fireworks last night, but they were going off all night in my neighborhood. Either doing that or watching that magic moment when the Jays were down and George Springer came to the plate with two runners on base.
1-0 pitch. High fly ball. Left field. Arozarena watches it go.
What a moment. Blue Jays win it. They are going to the World Series. Now, I'm going to be honest, and maybe you are like me, if you can be honest about it. When it happened last night, all the emotion came out. I wanted this so bad for the Blue Jays. I wanted this so bad for my kids who weren't even around the last time the Jays won the World Series. I wanted it for the city. I wanted it for the country. And when they finally won, when that strikeout happened in the top of the ninth inning, and it was confirmed, the Blue Jays are going to the World Series, all that emotion just came out.
Here comes the 3-2. He got him!
Wow. The Jays are going to the World Series. And I teared up last night. I couldn't help it. All that emotion came out. I couldn't help it. Watching Vladimir Guerrero Jr. when it was his turn to speak to the crowd at Rogers Center with Hazel May. Watching him tear up, become completely speechless at the moment with the crowd going nuts chanting his name. How can you not be happy for these guys? When I saw those players and the moment really seized them, that they're going to the World Series. What they've trained for almost their entire lives is finally happening. When that moment became real, I kind of came unglued. I couldn't hold it in. I wasn't sad. I was happy. But that's what happens when you get all that emotion pent up inside you. It all has to come out at some point, and last night it did. And I won't say I was bawling, but I was pretty choked up. The fact that the Jays got it done last night. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Hey, Junior, man, you just win. You're going to the World Series. Dance with me, baby. Dance with me, baby. Come on, baby. Have fun. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, baby.
Gracias. Let's go, baby.
Vámonos.
Vamos arriba. Dominicana encima. Vamos arriba.
That's right, baby. I love you, baby.
Para el mundo.
Vamos a esto.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with Big Papi on the Major League Baseball broadcast last night. What a feeling. That's all I can say. What a feeling. The coach, the manager, John Schneider after the game.
Fellas, American League East champions, American League Division champions, American League champions. Wait. First time in 32 years the World Series comes back to this city and this country. So proud of every one of you. Enjoy every single moment of this tonight because you guys earned.
Man, everything I hear just gets me more and more pumped up for these guys. Let's hear a little bit more from manager John Schneider after the game. This is part of his post-game press conference.
Gosman and Bassett came out of the bullpen.
It's awesome.
What's it say about this team that you have two guys who are typically historically starters stepping up like that?
Just gutsy. You know what I mean? I think that I try to learn from every experience that you've been through, and Game 7 is a whole different animal where things get a little bit quirky, And I said it to you guys before the game. There comes a time where you just trust people and you just trust guys that have been there, right? So for Kev to come out of the bullpen for the first time all year, and I intentionally walked Cal, and I thought he did a good job of working around Naylor to go to Polanco, who he's handled well. It's just cool to see guys that you trust go out there and have success. Chris's curveball to Gino, man, 3-2. It's a ballsy pitch, and that's who Chris is. So to see his reaction was really fulfilling. And then Hoff punched out the side, man. It was awesome.
I am so excited for this team, this city, and this country with the Jays going on to the World Series. And to be honest with you, I know it's going to be tough. The Dodgers are an incredible baseball team. We're taking on the best in the sport in Shohei Ohtani. Win or lose in the World Series, and I want them to win, but win or lose, the accomplishment mainly was last night winning the American League Championship Series. Pitcher Kevin Gausman after the win.
And what was it like, man, coming out here? I know you pitched in a lot of playoff games, but coming out here and pitching today was, for my money, it was loud as hell, as loud as it's been. What was that like,
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, walking up those steps to get ready, like all those fans could kind of see me get ready, and they were fired up for me. So it gave me that extra adrenaline to kind of go out there and get the job done. And, got lucky, to be honest, made a big pitch. He got a double play and, relied on my strengths. And, it was so huge, obviously, for George to get that moment.
I think the thing that I love the most about this is what a team effort it was. You get people like Gausman and Bassett coming out of the bullpen to help their team. You've got guys who didn't even get into the game last night that were still an integral part of this team win because either they were cheering for the team, they were watching for specific things, they were helping out on the iPad, noting the way the different pitches are coming to the plate and things like that and pointing it out for the batters. I mean, every single person in this franchise contributed to that win. George Springer after the game.
George, I was going to ask about Vlad as well, just maybe from a bit of a different perspective, having been through some of the expectations as he's had to carry in Houston. What do you appreciate about the way that he's handled all the expectations around him and then in this postseason found a way to really perform at a peak level?
I think with Vladdy, one of the things that gets lost is, how young he actually is as a human being, but he cares so much about everybody around him that's what makes him great. And whenever you get a guy like that, again, he's earned every bit of whatever he's got. He's kind of shown the world a little bit who he is as a player and what guys see and hear every day. He knows what weight's on his shoulders, and he's kind of embraced it. But at the same time, he'll say it all the time. He couldn't be here without all of us, and that's a cool thing. He genuinely loves the city. He loves this team, that this organization. So it's a special thing to have a guy like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got 500 million reasons to really love this team and this city. I want to play a little bit more of George Springer because he is so good. And I mean, after that home run last night, you would have thought under any other circumstance, there is your American League Championship Series MVP. But no, that honor went to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And George Springer was humble about it. Even though he hit the game-winning home run and he was integral to getting the team here, he's still happy for his teammates, and that is what's important. Here's more of George Springer, this time on the field with Hazel May.
Of George continues in October. George Springer, I'm not even going to ask you how you're feeling physically. How are you feeling emotionally right now?
I'm just so happy for everybody here, our fans, our city, our country. This is for them.
One more question on this team. Time and time again, you guys have rallied back. You're down in this game, a win or go home game until you step up to the plate. What's going through your mind knowing you've got some pretty good arms in the bullpen yet to come, and this was your chance to get the job done?
I just tried to get the guy in from third, honestly. The at-bats before me were unbelievable. The bunt by Hemi is huge. That's such a hard thing to do in that spot. spot. So if it's not for those 3 guys, who knows what happens, but I owe it to them.
If it's not for you, you guys aren't off to the World Series. Enjoy your horse ride down the street on Bremner Avenue.
Yeah, tarps off, baby!
Just an unbelievable feeling. Blue Jays fans are on cloud 9, and you know what? There's no reason to not be. This is a massive accomplishment after the incredibly long baseball regular season. To keep going in the playoffs like this, to hang on to first place like they did all through August and the beginning of September. This could be our year, everybody. It could be. Jeff Hoffman was the guy who threw the last pitch last night, the closer. Here's him in the dressing room after the game.
I think 12-year-old me would probably be shitting his pants right now. It's just something that you always want to get to as a baseball player. To do it with a group of guys that you enjoy as much as we enjoy each other, it's amazing. And I don't want this season to end. I know none of these guys do either. And we're kind of just doing whatever it takes, finding a way to get there.
Well said. And yeah, that's a great point. Young you that wanted that moment so bad to be able to pitch in the top of the 9th in a Game 7 to go to the World Series. That's the dream when you're a kid, when you're a minor baseball player trying to work your way up to the major leagues. That's the dream, and he lived it out last night. What goes through your body when you throw that pitch, that strikeout, and you feel the rush of that crowd approaching 114 decibels inside Rogers Center? It's got to be completely consuming. What a moment. I was disappointed last night that we didn't get to see Max Scherzer come out of the bullpen. That guy is intensity on steroids, but he did talk after the game.
You're going back to the World Series. Take in this scene around us right now.
This is incredible. The stadium is erupting. This moment, you can't even describe it. Words can't describe it.
The George Springer home run. You've got a lot of pages in your scrapbook, Max. What's that one going to say?
Wow. Just wow. Wow, what a homer. I was in a bullpen. I saw it coming right over my head.
Max, your first World Series, you were not yet a father. Now you're a dad of 4. Yep. What does this experience mean to your whole family?
Everybody, parents, family, all the cousins, and everybody around me, all my friends, they're all part of this. But yeah, especially to get the kids here to another World Series.
I know as a fellow starting pitcher, you had to love seeing Bassett come out there. How about he flips that 72-mile-an-hour curveball for a strike?
I called it. I was in a bullpen. I was like, Bassett, throw the curveball, and he did. I was like, I knew he had that. It was a big-time pitch. I knew he had it.
And Max, what have you learned about this city, this country, by pitching here this season?
I mean, just the atmosphere that's been at the Rogers Center this whole season. Man, the way we play ball, we fed off the energy of the crowd. And everything we've done, it's this moment right here. That's why you don't have words to describe it.
And finally, Max, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you play with a lot of superstars. Yeah. How do you describe what you've seen from him this month?
Yeah, we got another superstar, don't we?
I just love how into playing in Toronto all of these players are. Most of them are not Canadian, but you know what? They've taken Canada on as an adopted home. This is a market that they love, and they feel pressure to perform for this fan base. And you can't ask any more of a pro baseball franchise. You can't ask any more of them than to play with everything they've got and do it for the city and do it for the country. One of the things I said just yesterday on the podcast is that I think Trey Yesavage is the future of Blue Jays baseball. I think he is that good a pitcher at 22 years old that he is the future.
Trey, Alex Rodriguez here. Congrats on the big win. You've been phenomenal this October. Question for you is, how were you able to stay so composed? You were challenged with some really tough times out there. How'd you do it?
I just believed in myself. I know my stuff plays at this level. I know the defense behind me is going to play at the best of their abilities, and getting 3 double plays in back-to-back innings was huge.
I just can't say enough about this team and how proud I am of them. What an incredible accomplishment. American League champions, and they're going to the World Series. And how good is this World Series going to be? The way they're going to pitch this, the way they're going to say, you've got to watch this World Series, Canada and America, is Shohei Ohtani, best in the game right now, putting up stats better than Babe Ruth. Shohei Ohtani versus Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Who's going to win this series? Who's going to win this one? Lock in your guesses right now. Is it Jays in 6? Dodgers in 5? Jays in 7? LA in 7? Can we handle another game 7? I don't know. Right now, it is such a great feeling. The country is divided in a lot of ways, but we are united in one thing. And sometimes all it takes is a little bit of magic. And I think that that's exactly what happened over the last 6 to 8 weeks with the Jays on this run. Again, now going to the World Series. Game 1 and Game 2 are going to be at Rogers Center in Toronto Friday and Saturday night. Sunday, you can watch football. It's an off day from the World Series. Then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 3 games straight in LA. Thursday's an off day. Game 6 is going to be on Friday, October 31st. Ooh, why does that date sound familiar? Halloween. You know, that's a game. I'm completely happy if they want to push that one back even later. These 8 o'clock starts are killing people that have to be up early in the morning, like radio DJs. I think I slept for if I even slept, it was no more than 3 hours last night. I was almost late for work today. I didn't even get up till 4 a.m. and I was in the studio shortly after 5. And that's a real quick turnaround for me. I would appreciate some 7 o'clock starts the way it used to be during the regular season. But no, not on Halloween. That game, you guys go ahead and move that one back to a 9 o'clock start. Let the trick-or-treating get done, then put the game on. The Game 7, if necessary, will be on Saturday, November the 1st. That's where I'm going to leave this opening segment on Scott Fox After 9, celebrating a Blue Jays win. What an incredible feeling. And I'll be talking more about the Jays as this series goes on, because there's going to be at least 4 more Blue Jays games this year. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here. I want to get something else on your radar. The Prime Minister, who never sits down and does feature-length interviews with people like me or any Canadian media, really, even though he should. Mark, if you're a listener, come on my podcast. There's a lot I'd like to ask you about. But he did do an interview with some American media from Bloomberg. The fact that Mark Carney sat down with Bloomberg should be no shock to anybody. But I am impressed that Bloomberg asked the Prime Minister tough questions, way tougher than he gets asked by Canadian media. Listen to about a minute and a half of the Prime Minister talking to Bloomberg News.
The prosperity of both countries is at stake. Your language, though, has changed on President Trump since you came to office. Do you remember when you talked about him as a bully that needed to be stood up to? In February, when you were campaigning, we're going to stand up to a bully, we're not going to back down. And yet, now you're much more likely to talk in more conciliatory terms. I mean, obviously, one is campaigning and one is governing, but perhaps people who wanted you to do the standing up to the bully might feel that you haven't done that as much as you suggested when you were campaigning.
Well, let's be clear of the actual situation. We're one of, there are 2 countries effectively that put retaliatory tariffs on the United States. 2 countries in the world. We put them on, we kept them on up to a point where they ceased to be effective. We got to a point when we took our retaliatory tariffs off, we had 85% of our trade tariff-free. When we put them on, given the steps that President Trump had taken, it was a third of our trade was tariff-free. So, strikes me that that's pretty effective.
Yeah, but
number
he has
one.
shown his power, hasn't he, over you? Like, for example, your digital services tax. You announced it. He hated it. You had to back down on that.
The digital service tax was announced multiple years before. It was just effectively coming in. It was coming into effect. Look, the United States.
And it couldn't, because President Trump wasn't having it.
We made a decision in the context. And let's what happened after we took that digital service tax off? Within weeks, the president confirmed, in writing, formally confirmed in an executive order, that tariff-free status for the vast majority of our trade. So there was something
broader at stake on trade. I get that, but I just wonder how you reconcile yourself to that, because it is different from the tone you struck before.
I reconcile. My responsibility is to get the best possible deal for Canada. We have the best deal in the world at this point.
Man, is he ever dancing around answering that question? The answer is simple. Trump was not the threat. Carney had to bluster during the campaign because he needed everybody angry at Donald Trump. He had to stand up and say things like, "I will settle down that schoolyard bully." And people believed it. He knew full well this was never going to be elbows up. He knew full well because he had already taken some of the retaliatory tariffs off at that point. He'd already taken them off. He warned Donald Trump in advance when they had a phone call. Hey, listen, I'm going to have to go a little hard on you. It's just part of the game. It was all for show. It was all to manipulate voters into thinking you were electing some economic genius and some tough guy and some master negotiator. I'm actually pleasantly surprised to hear a reporter from Bloomberg News went a little bit harder on the prime minister. My question is, why doesn't he get questions like that from the CBC? Why doesn't he get questions like that from any Canadian media? And if there's Canadian media out there that would like to question him a little more aggressively, that would like to make him answer a question, ask him some of the more uncomfortable ones, why do they never get to do interviews with him? Very dishonest, if you ask me. Either way, interesting perspective from the prime minister. That's how he's spinning it. He wanted to be tough, but then he realized it was better to just drop the retaliatory tariffs and be best buddies with the guy. And maybe that's the strategy. Maybe that was right. But he still misled people during the campaign into thinking it's something it wasn't. And that was not fair to those voters, and shame on the mainstream media for perpetuating that lie when they knew it was a lie all the way through the campaign.
Opportunity to talk about the taxes, the imaginary taxes that the leader of the opposition comes up with. But last week, the leader of the opposition put into question the independence of our judiciary, of the independence of our prosecutors, of the police. In fact, the very police that put their lives on the line to protect him, Mr. Speaker. The leader has the next 30 seconds to make amends, to apologize, to tell the people of this chamber and this house that he is sorry for what he said. We don't do that in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
Before I get to the honorable leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, that was Government House Leader Steve McKinnon asking for Pierre Poilievre to apologize for suggesting that the RCMP basically helped cover up a theoretical crime that may or may not have been committed by the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, specifically related to the SNC-Lavalin affair. Well, since that comment got made on that Northern Perspectives podcast, which if I'm reading the room right, I think that comment made a lot of people uncomfortable, especially people on the left. Especially people on the left. They don't like it. They think it's terrible that Pierre would suggest that the RCMP didn't do their job or that they helped Trudeau cover up a crime. I'm not sure if that's really the point we should be getting caught up in here, though. I'm just going to float this out here because I really don't have an opinion one way or the other. But Pierre Poilievre says he was talking about the prior commissioner, Brenda Lucki. And if you Google Brenda Lucki, you'll see some doozies from things that she did to suck up to Justin Trudeau. She loved Justin Trudeau, and there's no reason for her to not. Trudeau appointed her. We have a different commissioner now, but it is the same problem. I think at the heart of it here, whether Pierre was talking about the current commissioner or the previous commissioner, whether he was talking about RCMP leadership or the entire RCMP, which he wasn't talking about the entire RCMP, I think what's really going on here is it sounds similar to what happened in America. While he was running for president, Donald Trump suggested a number of his political opponents should probably be in jail. Do you remember the first Donald Trump run? People were chanting, "Lock her up," about Hillary Clinton. It was suggested that Hillary Clinton may have committed a few crimes along the way, and she should probably be in jail. And that goes back to Benghazi. It goes back to the deleting intentionally of her emails, which were the subject of an investigation, and many, many other things. People wanted Hillary Clinton in jail. Now, when Pierre Poilievre steps up and wonders, did Justin Trudeau commit a crime? People think, oh my God, he's doing it what Trump does. Do you feel that way, or do you think there's something here? Because take the emotion out of it. That'll be gone. It'll die off soon enough. But then we're still left with the issue, and it's the same issue we've been left with for a very long time. Was a crime committed? You can't obstruct an investigation. And based on everything I've heard, the call between Michael Wernick and Jody Wilson-Raybould, the testimony from the RCMP, at the House of Commons Commission. All of it seems to point to the fact that Justin Trudeau wanted a deferred prosecution for SNC-Lavalin, and when his then Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould, wouldn't do it after he applied sufficient pressure and she still wouldn't go along with it to save his buddies at SNC-Lavalin, Trudeau fired her, put in somebody else who did the job, and then used cabinet confidentiality to cover the whole thing up. And when the RCMP did their investigation, they didn't even talk to Trudeau. How can you do an investigation into a theoretical crime without talking to the main person of interest? Pierre Poilievre is not necessarily right. He's not necessarily wrong. But I think now, since he brought it up, it's incumbent upon the RCMP to come back out, face the people, and say, listen, here's what happened with that investigation. Here are the investigative steps that we took, and that's how we came to the conclusion that we were not going to charge Justin Trudeau. That's how we came to that conclusion. I don't think they're going to do it. In fact, I think that they're so arrogant, they don't even think they should. And frankly, I don't understand why. There's an accusation out there. There always was. Since this happened, this was the accusation that Trudeau may have done something criminal. I'm using words like may have because everybody is entitled to the presumption of innocence. Full stop. And so far, Justin Trudeau has not been convicted or even charged with a crime. But the question comes back to, should he have been? I'll let you be the judge. I'll let you be the judge, and you can decide in your own mind. One thing I do want to point out, though, before I get to Pierre Poilievre's response here to that suggestion from the government House leader, what's wrong with looking into it again? There's enough Canadians out there. I see it myself and I hear it. There's enough Canadians out there that are not confident that justice was done, that think it's possible our former prime minister may have obstructed an investigation and got away with a crime that he should have been charged for. If that's the case, what's the harm in the RCMP coming out and just correcting the record and saying, hey, no, we did a full, thorough investigation, and even though we didn't talk to the people involved, we're still satisfied that nothing criminal happened here. Why won't they come back out and do that? I would think that's in the public interest. It doesn't seem like they're going to. In fact, I know that they love that this has turned into a political scandal for Pierre Poilievre. And that's fine. The mainstream media is blowing this up. They are making this a travesty. They are again trying to connect Pierre Poilievre to Donald Trump, even though Poilievre has disavowed Trump, basically, and Trump has disavowed Poilievre. Trump and Carney are boys. This isn't a MAGA thing. This is a justice thing. If somebody committed a crime, they should not be allowed to get away with that. If an investigation got screwed up here, maybe we should right the wrong and resume the investigation. Maybe at the absolute least, the RCMP should sit down with former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It's just a thought.
Leader of the opposition.
Liberals are trying to distract from their inflation and rising cost of living by talking about their corruption. This will be the 10th Liberal budget. Already, they've doubled the debt, food bank lineups, and housing costs. Every dollar the government spends comes directly out of the pockets of Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, and house themselves. Their fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker. Will they learn these costly lessons? Will they cap their inflationary deficits and get rid of their insane taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Monsieur le Président.
Okay, so I guess he's going to opt to answer that one in French. And I'll also note that no, Pierre Poilievre did not take him up on his offer. He did not offer an apology to the RCMP. Do you think he should? He suggested that they screwed up this investigation and may have intentionally helped cover this up for Justin Trudeau. I don't want anyone listening to this pod to read anything into the questions I'm asking or the tone I'm using. I'm not trying to suggest anything here other than if there's doubt in the minds of the Canadian people, really that's up to the RCMP to put that to bed. It's not up to Pierre Poilievre. But there's a lot of politicians who do not like Pierre who are going to use this as an opportunity to try and make this a way bigger scandal than it is. I think if you walk down Main Street right now, grabbed 10 different people and asked them, What do you know about this? The vast majority probably don't even remember the details of the SNC-Lavalin investigation. I'd be shocked if you got 4 out of 10 that even remember. And of those 4, I'll bet you there's at least 2 of them, at least 2, that believe something fishy went on here. That believe maybe there's a chance the RCMP was covering up for Pierre Poilievre. But then again, it is true. You can't make an accusation like that against one of our national institutions without a little bit of proof, without some evidence. I mean, I think that there's evidence out there. And if you listen to that call between Michael Wernick and Jody Wilson-Raybould, case closed. This is worth investigating. If there's smoke, there could be fire. I think that if you look at the simple fact that nobody ever interviewed Trudeau, nobody ever asked him, hey, what was going on there when you had your privy council officer phone the attorney general, and then when she wouldn't do what you wanted her to do, you fired her and brought in somebody who would. What went on there during that period? Could you clarify that? I think that's a totally fair question to ask the Prime Minister, but nobody ever did. Nobody ever thought to ask the Prime Minister, or nobody could get access to ask the Prime Minister. There's a difference right there. Yesterday, outside the House of Commons, the leader of the Green Party, Elizabeth May, weighed in on this controversy.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt compelled to speak out at Pierre Poilievre's latest, outburst that seems to have come from the pages of Project 2025. It certainly didn't come from the criminal code, with the notion that former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should be in jail if not for the quote-unquote despicable leadership of the RCMP.
I don't know that anybody's suggesting the Prime Minister should be in jail. I think the suggestion here is that Justin Trudeau might have got away with something here, and the RCMP might have been complicit in letting that happen.
Well, I did go to law school. Pierre Poilievre didn't. People think there are too many lawyers in politics. This episode makes it really clear, as far as I'm concerned, not enough lawyers in politics.
Man, she is just cuckoo, isn't she? Wow. Okay, so she is pointing out that she went to law school and Pierre Poilievre didn't. Does that make a difference? Because I talk to lawyers all the time for various different hats that I wear in my life. And frankly, I've met a lot of lawyers that are stupid. Like, I am shocked they can get themselves out of bed, make themselves a lunch, and get to the office every single day successfully, because they are dumb individuals. Her bragging about the fact that she went to law school and Pierre doesn't does not put her on some sort of a pedestal. Saying that Ottawa needs more lawyers is crazy. You know what Ottawa needs? More middle-class people with regular jobs that are not career politicians like Elizabeth May. Here's a little bit more of this rant.
You have to know something about the law before you spout off that a former Prime Minister should be in jail. Why? Was there a criminal code offense that the RCMP covered up? No. The report of the late Mary Dawson, the Ethics Commissioner for Canada, she reported in 2017 that she believed Justin Trudeau had broken the ethics code by accepting the Christmas vacation the year before on the Aga Khan's private island. I'll be honest with you, I never bought it at the time. I didn't want to be going in front of the microphones to defend Justin Trudeau's vacation, but it was entirely subjective. And I wondered how it was that the Ethics Commissioner decided that the Aga Khan was not a family friend. Now, the details are clear. Pierre Trudeau and the Aga Khan were friends. Justin Trudeau knew the Aga Khan since his earliest childhood. If not for Mary Dawson's subjective finding that the Aga Khan did not meet the definition of family friend, there was no offense here. Now, there's misuse potentially of using the planes, but even if every element of the ethics code was proven, which I don't believe it was, even if every element had been proven at that time, this was not a criminal code offense. So where is Pierre Poilievre's notion that the former Prime Minister should be jailed? It's deeply worrying, because this is the kind of thing going on right now in Trump's United States. Political enemies can become then persecuted through law enforcement, and you end up having former colleagues, friends, associates of Donald Trump. Once they're no longer friends, they should be in jail. I don't like that kind of language in Canadian politics.
Why? Let's get to the facts here. The facts are there was something that went on here. You just heard an acknowledgement from the Green Party that there were ethics violations, and it wasn't just one. Is that alone not enough for the RCMP to step in? If there was interference in a deferred prosecution for SNC-Lavalin, would we agree? And then obstruction to cover it up. Would we agree that that might meet the threshold for an RCMP investigation? And can we agree that if there's an investigation, it makes sense to interview the actual person involved? I would think it does. You know, she goes on there to go on an anti-MAGA rant. She talks about how, well, that's what's happening in America and it's not right. Okay, well, let's talk about what's going on in America. Donald Trump did not indict anybody. A grand jury indicted the people who have been charged. And if more people get charged, they'll be indicted by a grand jury as well. That's not Donald Trump. It's not a judge appointed by Donald Trump. It's a grand jury. It's regular folks that heard enough evidence that said there's something here. Let's send this to trial. That's what an indictment is. If they're found guilty, then Trump was right. In Canada, we haven't even gotten to that stage yet. Nobody has laid any charges. We still, nearest I can tell, haven't even finished the investigation. This is the way this breaks down. The prime minister is the prime minister. The leader of the opposition, it's his job to oppose, to hold the government to account. Now, let's say, for example, a government, again, this is just for example, a government commits a crime. If it's not the leader of the opposition who's going to hold them accountable, who will? Can they just get away with it? I think there's some questions worth asking about the time that Justin Trudeau was in office. And that's not sour grapes. That's not being vindictive. That's not being mean. That's not going after your political opponents. It's making sure that justice gets done. If something happened here and until now they've got away with it, what's the harm in looking into it? Don't the Canadian people deserve to know that their will be done? Don't the Canadian people deserve to know that nobody is above the law? If Trudeau didn't do anything wrong, then there won't be any charges laid. And no, he won't go to jail. If the RCMP didn't do anything wrong, why aren't they out there very transparently in front of the cameras, laying out step by step for the Canadian people what went on? Why has nobody accused Pierre Poilievre of slander? Well, there's a good question, isn't it? It would be slanderous if he made an accusation like that. I'm not aware of any court papers that have been filed against Pierre by the RCMP or by Justin Trudeau. What's the harm in looking into this? There shouldn't be any harm in looking at this. Nobody is above the law. And if somebody used a position of power to further their own agenda or to enhance their own wealth or prominence in society, that's a problem. It's a big problem. And we shouldn't be afraid to take that on. If Pierre is making a false accusation, all right, well, the RCMP could very easily prove that. So could Justin Trudeau. I don't see them lining up in front of the camera to do that. See where it goes. You don't have to make up your mind about this issue today. Maybe history will prove that Trudeau did nothing wrong. The RCMP had an investigation above board and beyond reproach, and Pierre was just spouting off nonsense. Or we look into this again and we realize, there actually probably should have been a charge laid years ago. There actually should have been a more thorough investigation years ago. Maybe that is the more pragmatic approach to dealing with this. But the media is blowing it up. You heard Elizabeth May. It just makes her uncomfortable that this accusation is out there. I'm uncomfortable that the accusation is out there as well, because I'd like to think that our prime minister has integrity, and I'd like to think the same of our national police force. And right now, it's just an accusation, both ways. Is Pierre being MAGA, or did Trudeau break the law and the RCMP covered it up by doing a shoddy investigation and trying to sweep it under the rug? I'm a little surprised we're spending a lot of time talking about this because there are actual issues out there. And that's another issue where I'm actually a little frustrated with Pierre. There's a lot of issues here, and not that this isn't important. Nobody's above the law. Nobody should get away with a crime like that if they committed it. But we have other issues to talk about, and right now those issues aren't getting talked about because of this. And the media is going to drag this as long as they possibly can because it makes people like Elizabeth May, who's a boomer, and the other boomers uncomfortable to think, oh my goodness, now we're investigating a prime minister. That's similar to what they're doing in the States with Barack Obama. Well, let's find out if Barack Obama committed a crime. He hasn't been indicted yet, but if he committed a crime, then yeah, he too should face the long arm of the law. Here's just a little bit more of Elizabeth May. This might be against my better judgment because I don't find there to be anything particularly helpful in this so far.
I don't like it coming from anyone, but I do think for the Canadian public, it needs to be clear when somebody is evading the law and when they're not. So again, in the instance of the SNC-Lavalin affair and the improper pressure brought on our former and quite noble former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the Honourable Jody Wilson-Raybould, I still think that the RCMP should have pursued its investigation into what really took place there. But we actually don't know whether Justin Trudeau applied the pressure or not. We only know that the former clerk of the Privy Council office, Michael Warnick, did. So these things, again, is there a criminal code offense here? Even if all the elements were proven, should someone be in jail? And what does it advance Canadian society to refer to the RCMP leadership as, quote unquote, despicable?
Because if they covered something up, then they kind of are, aren't they? We won't tolerate that, will we? I know we look the other way and let our politicians rip us off and rob us blind. I know that. There's people who probably think that Trudeau probably did break the law and they just don't want to see him go to jail because that would be uncomfortable. So just leave it. It's in the past. Just let it go. Even Elizabeth May here can't firmly say that Trudeau didn't break the law. Trudeau didn't participate in the investigation. It's a big problem. People have doubts and they shouldn't have doubts. No, you know what? I really don't want to see a former prime minister get dragged to jail in handcuffs and spend time behind bars. It would be an embarrassment. But frankly, I'd rather see that and be able to have true confidence in our institutions and in the office of the prime minister than know he got away with it just because it's uncomfortable to see that happen. And that wouldn't be Pierre making it uncomfortable. It would be Trudeau himself for putting himself in that situation. I want to play one more thing here for you on this topic. This is the member of parliament for Brantford and Six Nations. He is the conservative justice critic, and he is a former Crown attorney. His name is Larry Brock. This is him questioning current RCMP Commissioner Mike Duhem about why they didn't interview Justin Trudeau. This clip is from February 2024.
At the heart of the SNC-Lavalin scandal, there were a number of players within the PMO, the PCO, and the Ministry of Finance. However, the principal person of interest in the SNC scandal was at all material times the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. How many times in the last 5 years did you interview Justin Trudeau?
He was not interviewed, sir, or Mr. President.
Okay, and why not?
I'll ask Mr. Président, who was leading the investigation, to add a little bit.
In relation to this, what the RCMP conducted as far as for the objective for the review of the matter, what we've done is we've proceeded with a phased approach, which initially we looked at the potential witnesses that could provide some information as far as to precision for the elements of the offense. So we proceeded in this phase approach. As we proceeded, we determined if there was any further investigative steps that
Sergeant,
were warranted given the circumstances of the case.
My time is very limited. Why did you not interview the primary person of interest? At the heart of this investigation was Justin Trudeau's political interference for his own personal gain and the gain of SNC-Lavalin. I can inform both of you gentlemen that in my over 30 years of experience as a defense counsel and as a Crown attorney, I have never heard of any investigation where there wasn't any attempt whether they agreed to interview or not, any attempt to interview the person of interest? Was there at least an attempt to interview Justin Trudeau? Yes or no?
No.
Did the RCMP obtain all relevant documents to further the investigation, including access to cabinet confidential information, simply seeking a yes or no response?
We were limited with the information that we had access to.
Was that a yes or a no, sir?
I don't know. We didn't know. We don't know. We still don't know to this day all the information that's out there
Thank
because
you.
some was protected.
I'll take that as a no.
There you go. That was a former Crown attorney and defense lawyer getting the RCMP to acknowledge, no, they don't have all the information, and no, they never interviewed Trudeau. How can they say nothing happened here, this is crazy, and just let that go without at least acknowledging that Pierre Poilievre has a point? I'm not saying that anybody should be in jail. I'm saying this requires a little bit more investigation. That's all I'm saying. And the Canadian people, again, they have a right to know that our institutions like the RCMP are credible. They have a right to know that no one is above the law. And even if you're the prime minister of the country, you will not get away with breaking the law for your own agenda. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to move on, and I don't know where this is going here, but like I said, I'm actually surprised and not surprised at what a huge deal they're making of this in the mainstream media. They're really, really, really trying to make it seem like Pierre Poilievre is Donald Trump, and he's going after his political opponents. And no, that's not what this is. We have an open question on the books here, and the RCMP could clear up the confusion right now. I don't think they're going to. Justin Trudeau, he could come out and do that. And I don't think he's going to either. The RCMP, if they're concerned about their reputation with the Canadian public, then yeah, they have a right to be. They should be, especially based on that clip that I just played. Like I said, though, I got to move on. Yesterday, Rachel Thomas, who is a Conservative member of Parliament, in a committee meeting, talking to the head of the CBC, asking, hey, why is the CBC using temporary foreign workers?
Would you also commit to this committee, given rising unemployment numbers, that under your tenure as CEO, you would not hire any future temporary foreign workers to fill positions?
If there is a process and it's approved by the authority, I don't exactly see what the issue is that you have with this process, but maybe I'm not familiar enough.
I guess my issue is the fact that unemployment rates in Canada are rising, and the CBC is looking elsewhere to fill its talent rather than right here at home.
That's a fair criticism, right? And the people at the CBC, they don't understand it. It's in every industry. We have a problem with jobs. We have a problem with employment. And the CBC is hiring temporary foreign workers. You mean to tell me that whatever job it is at the CBC, you couldn't find one Canadian broadcaster who wanted that job, which comes with a ton of perks, a massive pension, and so much more? Not one Canadian wanted the job, so you had to go out and hire foreign to work for our national broadcaster. I don't buy it. And you know what? If we do have an election soon, another thing that's going to come up is defund the CBC again. But I feel like we're getting close. I feel like every day, more and more people wake up to the fact that when you watch the CBC, you're getting a spin, you're getting an opinion, you're not necessarily getting all of the facts. You're getting a narrative that the CBC wants out there. And that narrative is very anti-conservative and very pro-left-wing. Yesterday, the finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne. I love saying that name. I laugh when I hear this guy talk because he sounds like a cartoon. He was talking about some of the new anti-fraud measures that will be included in the budget. This government, you can tell it's being run by a banker because all of a sudden they are extremely concerned about financial crimes, white-collar crimes. Here's the finance minister.
This summer, I also had the opportunity to visit La Guardia di Finanza, which is Italy's top financial crime unit, to learn how they protect their own citizens against financial crimes. La fraude et la criminalité financière évoluent rapidement.
While he's speaking French, can I just point out here, you don't need to go to Italy to figure that out. You could have picked up the phone. You could have done a Zoom call. You could have done any number of things. But these people, you can tell they're not spending their own money. You flew all the way over to Italy on a government junket just to ask them how they keep their people safe from financial crimes. You couldn't have Googled that. You couldn't have asked Grok. You had to go to Italy. Oh, did you? Oh, okay. All right.
Budget 2025 will introduce Canada's first ever national anti-fraud strategy. This is a big, bold step that we're taking this morning. As fraud becomes more sophisticated, more Canadians are being impacted. Fraud is an issue across sectors as fraudsters increasingly use text messages, emails, and social media to target victims. This means firms across the technology, telecommunication, and financial sectors must step up. This strategy will explore new policies and action that require these sectors to work more closely together to protect Canadians. Just to give you a sense of perspective, financial scams costed Canadians $643 million in 2024, and we have seen a large increase since 2020. Financial crimes, which is much broader, run into the tens of billions every year in Canada, and we must take bold action to stop that. I want to take a moment to thank and recognize the proactive leadership shown by industry partners, many of whom...
Okay, I'm going to cut this guy off, but let me just give you a couple of spoilers on what's coming here. This is going to give the government far more power to look into you, to investigate if there's a theoretical fraud or financial crime being committed. Expect more surveillance on your cell phones and computers. Just expect it. It's coming. And when we say we're going to start investigating financial crimes, they're setting up another bureaucracy, by the way. This is another new office, even though we already have offices that are supposed to be dealing with this sort of thing. This will be something else that they're setting up to go after these criminals here. And no doubt, those fraudsters need to go. There's some sick people out there that are defrauding naive and elderly and stupid people that fall for stupid scams. And you know what? It's not your fault if you're stupid. If you fall for some of these scams. I had one on my radio show last week or the week before. Somebody convinced somebody else that they were an astronaut in space and they needed $5,000 worth of Apple gift cards to get fuel up to the space station so that they could come home and be with that person. And somebody actually thought, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, I better give them the $5,000 worth of Apple gift cards so they can get some gasoline up there to the space station and fuel up their rocket ship and come home and then be with me. Yeah. Somebody actually reasoned that out in their head and decided, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable. I should just give them money. Okay. Is anybody in this financial crimes unit going to be looking for people that are evading taxes? Because that's a financial crime that I think has a great impact on the Canadian people, because there are massive corporations out there, multinationals, there's not-for-profits, there's all kinds of them out there that are evading taxes. What's a good example here off the top of my head? What can I do? Brookfield. Pension funds invested into Bermuda, and they don't even have a whole full office in Bermuda. It was an office above a bike shop. Do you remember this? This came up during the election campaign. And it seems like money was hidden there in Bermuda so they didn't have to pay insane taxes in Canada. How did the Prime Minister justify that? Well, that's kind of the way the system works, and it was better off for the pensioners that way anyway because they got more pension money and didn't pay as much tax. I understand the argument, and I don't even disagree with him, but to me, that's an argument to lower taxes. That is not an argument to continue hiding money offshore. So will all these people in Ottawa that are all running big bank accounts, by the way, will they be investigated for their tax evasion practices? Are we going to clamp down on people keeping money in offshore tax havens? Is that what they're going to do? Or are they just going to go after the regular, like, street crime version of the internet? The people who are sending text messages, oh, you got a parking ticket, you better pay it now or you're going to jail, and people fall for it and click the link and enter their credit card number. Again, I want those people dealt with too, harshly. But is this financial crimes unit actually going to go after all of the financial crime? Since we're setting up an entirely new office and giving them a mandate, I would hope that they would. But frankly, I don't think they're interested in going after people like themselves. I don't think they're interested in going after the high-powered lawyers, accountants, and politicians who know the tax code and who know how to hide money so that they don't have to pay taxes on it in Canada. I guess that's not part of their mandate. They're going to go after the low-level stuff and the people they don't like. Noted. Okay, I guess that'll be part of the budget. One more thing here before I wrap it up. Yesterday, President Trump hosted the Prime Minister of Australia at the White House. Listen to this.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to have the Prime Minister of Australia. Fantastic place. A lot of friends over there, and this is one of them right here. The Prime Minister is, as you know, Anthony Albanese, and he's highly respected. Done very well in his election, and I hear you're very popular today, right? I mean, it varies from day to day, but with all of us. But he's done a fantastic job as the Prime Minister. We're here to talk about trade, submarines, lots of other military equipment. They're big orders of our great military equipment. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world by far. So we're going to be here to talk about lots of different things, and we might take a few questions before, but we are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we worked together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2. It's a great honor to have you as my friend. It's a great honor to have you in the United States of America. Please, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President, for the invitation here to the White House and for showing us around the improved Oval Office. And congratulations, I must say, Mr. President, on the work that you've done with the Middle East. It's an extraordinary achievement. And on defence, we've already had a discussion about taking it to the next level. Our defence and security partnership with AUKUS is so important for us, and I thank you for the support that the administration are giving as well. You've had the Chief of the Navy here as well, which will play obviously a very critical role with the subs and increasing the security for the region and the world. And our economic relationship is so important. The US has a trade surplus with Australia, as you know, and we can continue to take what is every opportunity to improve the relationship even further and make it even stronger. And today's agreement on critical minerals and rare earths is just taking it to the next level, seizing those opportunities which are before us.
Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of Australia sounding like they're about to jump into bed together. They're talking about taking it to the next level. Good for you. Hey, worth pointing out here, this is another country that has done another deal with America, and it seems like it's a good one for both. It's going to involve military protection, it's going to involve arms going back and forth, and it's going to involve critical minerals and rare earth. We need to hurry up and get a deal done with America before they have completely eaten our lunch here. We need to, because every time somebody buys critical minerals and rare earth from America, or America buys it from someone else, that's one less customer for Canada. We're still building the road that will allow us to extract those things from the Ring of Fire, and deals are getting done right now in real time. So when Ontario Premier Doug Ford says we got to hurry up and get going on this, yes, he is absolutely right. Friends, I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the high. Enjoy the moment. Jays are going to the World Series. Go Jays, go. I'll catch you right back here tomorrow with another episode of Scott Fox After 9. And I will leave you right now with the sounds of Pat James and The Whole Truth. This is called Hey Now. Oh.